Hey guys, my name is Lily and today I want to show you my bug out camp after 5 years of time. Stay tuned. So now we're here at the backside of the shelter, and actually the first thing that I built was this lean-to shelter at this side, and then I have built some walls around the shelter, so the shelter was completely enclosed, and only later I have built the second lean-to shelter, right? So this was the first one, and I think 2 years later I built this one here. And yeah, so the tarp is still in good condition. I don't really have a hole in it, and it was always very waterproof. And here at this side you can see that it looks like always, so it's still doing very good actually. And yeah, one time I had this hunting seat in the camp, but actually it was always in the way, and I just got rid of it and I threw it out. I kicked it out of the camp, and then what I did was I was building a bench. So now I have a bench here, which is much more comfortable. Okay, now let's take a look at the walls, and they're still standing. At this side something happened, so I have to repair the wall on this side. This is maybe falling apart soon, so I probably have to get new stakes and pound them into the ground. At this side the wall is still a little bit more stable, so this is fine. And yeah, for the logs I have taken rotten logs and sometimes dead standing trees, but I never cut down a fresh living tree for the walls, and also not for the shelter. So this entire shelter was built with dead wood. Yeah, so the rotting process is ongoing, but some of these logs were already rotting when I have put them onto the wall. Now let's take a look at the door. It's still working. This is still stable. So yeah, the only thing that happened is that this has fallen down. Yeah, but I can live with that. So the door is working fine after 5 years. And the wood, yeah, it's rotting a little bit, but it's still in very good condition. This is also in very good condition down here. Okay, so this shelter was the first one that I built, and yeah, then I decided that one shelter is just too small, and then I built the second one. Sometimes I have friends here, and then it's really awesome that you have 2 shelters for 2 people. And yeah, sometimes camping with friends is just a little bit more fun. Yeah, and this raised bed I have built with some Y-shaped branches, as you can see. Yeah, it's still very stable. You can't move it really. So very stable. I'm very happy with the bed. It's very comfortable. And the lean-to is holding up great as well. So I can't move anything around here. And yeah, one time something happened. So one time we had to cut down a tree which has gotten some bugs, and that tree was injured and it was dying, and we had a risk of a fall on the shelter. So we had to cut down the tree, and then by accident it fell onto the shelter. And yeah, then I had to rebuild the shelter. I had another beam here, so this one is now only 3 years old, and this is really thick and stable, and I have secured it with 3 poles on this side, this one, that one, and this strong spruce tree. So nothing is going to happen here. This is going to stay at its place. And at the other side I've used some very strong sticks as well. So this is held up by 2 poles and this will not fall down. And yeah, at the back side I have used some reflective tarp. So this is going to reflect back the heat of the campfire, and this way the shelter is much more warmer. So everything looks good here. I cannot see any damage of the lean-to, and also this one looks very good. This is much younger. I think it's only 3 years old, and the bed here is much bigger and much more comfortable. And here for the bed I have used some poles to lay on, and here in the back I have also used a reflective tarp which is going to reflect back the heat. Okay, here I'm seeing the first hole at the back. You can see this maybe. So these are holes, but it's okay because it's very low on the ground and it's also not on the weather side, so usually the wind comes from this side. That's alright. Yeah, I have some firewood here. This is just for the next time I'm going to spend in the forest. And at this side the pole is laying directly on the stakes of the wall. So this is a very stable shelter and you're not going to throw this over easily. And yeah, the fireplace is in good condition. So when I was building the fireplace, I was digging out like 50 centimeters of soil, and then I was using some gravel and put in some gravel, and then I was using some bigger stones. And this is basically the fireplace, which is very well secured by the stones. And yeah, I also have this windbreak here, which is going to protect the fireplace. And this stone broke, which is okay. And yeah, later I have built this bench, which is really comfortable. It's a really nice bushcraft bench. And yeah, it's really nice that you have some space where you can put your stuff onto. You can also sit on a bench, watch the fire. And one time I had like 7 people here and everybody had enough of space to sit. So that was really awesome. Yeah, that's it guys. That's the camp after almost 5 years. Yeah. Oh yeah, the shelf at the back side is still rocking. It's very stable. Look at this. You cannot move it. I have some stuff here which I always need, you know, a slingshot, this lighter, other stuff, canteen cups. Yeah. And this is my dream catcher, which I made myself, and it's still beautiful. Okay, now at the end of the video I want to answer some questions which are always coming, you know, always. So the first question that always comes is if this shelter is on private property, and the answer is yes. So this property here is belonging to my cousin, and he has allowed me to build this camp here, and sometimes he's even staying here, so even without me he's inviting some friends, so we both use the shelter. The second question is, has this shelter gotten vandalized so far? Actually no, because people know me in the village, right? So we are not too far from my hometown, and people know me and they know that I have built this shelter, and they know about my YouTube channel, and they are really supportive. So they are really nice and friendly people here, and they really like my shelter. So nobody has ever destroyed anything except this one tree which fell on the roof, but it's not vandalism, right? So it was really always staying like this, and sometimes even other people came here, because one time I have found an invoice of beer, and one time I have found beer which was empty. So some guys were here celebrating, and it was not my cousin. The next question which always comes is, why I'm not building a cabin out of this shelter, right? So I got so many comments. They said, yeah, you could make a roof on top of the wall and close the entire shelter, or you could build a log cabin. And that's true, I could build that, but then I would get a very high fine. This is the problem in Austria, because in Austria it's illegal to build a cabin in the woods just like this. Even if you own the property, you are not allowed to do this, okay? So this is the only legal construction which is possible. And there was some kind of animal over there. Okay. So this is the only legal construction. This counts as a hunting plant or woodworker shed, something like this with one side open is really fine, it's legal, but a log cabin or a really closed hut I cannot build, it's not legal. So I have a friend and he actually built a hut once in the forest and he was making a video about it, and then the building police found out who he was and he had to pay a huge fine, like over 1,000 euros. And yeah, you cannot do this in Austria, in Europe. It's not possible. It's only possible in the north of Canada and maybe Russia, I don't know. But here it's not legal. I cannot build a hut or a closed cabin, nothing like this. And this is why I always let it like this. Yeah, this is the reason. Otherwise, you know, I would love to build a log cabin. It was always my dream. But yeah, I think it's going to stay a dream. But anyway, even if I don't have a log cabin, this is a very awesome shelter. And when it's raining, you can just put down the plastic sheeting, and this will basically make a super shelter out of the lean-to shelter. And the super shelter is a construction which was created by Mors Kochanski. So this is where I got the idea from. And he invented this shelter where you put a sheeting in between the fire and your shelter. And then you will have a lot of infrared, which is coming into your shelter, which gets trapped. And then at the inside it's really warm. And at the outside, you know, it can be all weather. But at the inside it's always quite warm as long as you have the fire going. So this is something for extreme weather, for rain, for snow, for extreme wind. You can always let down the plastic sheetings, and I have them on both sides. So both shelters are really protected. And yeah, I've slept many nights here. I've made a lot of fires here. And I always had a blast. It's really something special, and I love this shelter. I've put in a lot of work into this shelter. Another question which comes frequently is, how long did it take me to build this shelter? It took me about 1 week, okay? Or maybe 10 days, because I was really slow. Sometimes I was coming in for 2 hours and then I left again. Sometimes I was working longer hours. So it's really hard to count up all of the days that I actually built the shelter, and it really depends on what tools you have. So I personally only used a handsaw, a bow saw, and a small hatchet for this. I like building with handsaw and axe and hatchets. It's really, you know, giving me a lot of accomplishment. If you can build something like this with hand tools, it's really awesome. Yeah guys, so this is it. I really want to thank you for watching. Please don't forget to check out my web store. You will find the link in the description below. Stay tuned till next time, and thank you for your support.